Heta in Kachina Land by Nathan R. Sewell. Chapter 1, CERN Particle Collider. Mohammed Amaretto Mugambo is an Iranian-born scientist. His father, Halim Jeffrey Mugambo, immigrated to the Middle East during the Islamic Revolution from Uganda. After strapping a bomb to his chest and detonating it in front of a busy cafe, Halim was honored as a jihadist martyr. With the monthly allowance for survivors of martyrs, his mother was able to send him to college. Mohammed earned a PhD in physics from Tehran University. To promote cultural diversity, he was given a key position at CERN, the European Organization for Nuclear Research. Today he was meeting with his imam at the Islamic Cultural Center in Geneva, Switzerland. "Tell me again what it is you are doing at CERN," says Imam Abu Salaman. "We intend to drag electrons through a plasma field behind a beam of protons and smash through into a new dimension. It could create an entrance to the sacred gardens of heaven, or it could open up a black hole. Why haven't they done it yet? They are testing different parameters right now. Some of my colleagues are afraid that it might be a doomsday machine. What do you think is going to happen?" "I have been having dreams about it. Sometimes I wake up in a palace with 70 virgins, and then sometimes I wake up to demons prodding me with spears. One of my other recurring dreams is a black hole that swallows up our solar system. I like the one where I am in a sumptuous palace." "I agree with you, Mohammed. I too have had a vision. I see you unlocking the door for the 12th Imam, the Mahdi that will usher in world peace and justice. Allah has placed you in a key position. I am only a small part of the CERN team. I cannot just choose to open a gate into some parallel universe. Are you ever alone in the control room?" "Yes, as a matter of fact, I work the midnight shift. I monitor the critical control systems and keep an eye on the security cameras in my section." "Do you have an emergency lockdown procedure?" "Yes. In the event of a terrorist attack, I am authorized to isolate the control room from the rest of the facility." Malik, the guardian of Jahannam, an angel from the eternal fires, came to me 2 nights ago in a vision and gave me an assignment. "I am to prepare you for a holy mission. You have been chosen to open the gates of heaven." "What are you saying?" "Malik has told me that you are to lock down the control room and advance all of the power controls to their maximum capacity." "With all due respect, that sounds insane." Don't blaspheme. Don't blaspheme Allah by saying he is insane. Allah has spoken. Allahu Akbar. As-salim alaikum. I will do it tonight, God willing. Chapter 2, Down the Wormhole. Heta is 18 years old, and she still chases animals through the desert like a coyote. The Hopi medicine man named her one who chases rabbits. That is exactly what she is doing today. She is carrying her favorite bludgeon. Her uncle carved the head of a puma on one end. If she can get close enough, she will knock this jackrabbit unconscious, and her family will have meat tonight. Just before the jackrabbit jumps into the opening of an abandoned kiva, Mohammed throws a switch at CERN on the opposite side of the world. A trans-dimensional portal opens at the entrance above the kiva. Heta falls headfirst into the plasma field. As she tumbles through the wormhole, she sees a panorama of events. There is a Hopi warrior with a bow and arrows. Next to him is the moon with a cross above it. 4 giant men are riding on the top of a locomotive. With a blinding flash, lightning strikes the train. When Heta hits the ground, she is smoking. Her hair is slightly singed, she thinks. That was hotter than a sweat lodge. Standing in front of her is Sewell Kachina Rabbit, as tall as she is. He has large ears and wears an apron decorated with hearts over a coarse woven pitkuna. "We were wondering when you would get here. We haven't got much time." "Haven't got time for what?" "The end of the world as you know it. Time is running out. The problem is that the planned end of the world appears to be premature. There has been a shift in the time-life continuum." "Don't you mean space-time continuum?" Heta asks. "No, the scientists have it wrong. It's about life and afterlife, 2 dimensions, that's all there is." "But I just fell through a wormhole. Isn't that all part of the same shtick?" Where did you learn to talk like that? You're a nice Hopi girl. I was sent to a boarding school where the teacher was Jewish. That explains some things, but it doesn't explain everything. Do you have a model that explains everything? In the spirit realm, the Kachinas are guardians of conservation and free will. I like to consider myself a free spirit. We were in the Garden of Heaven when man was created and first roamed the earth. Why did you leave the Garden of Heaven? We didn't leave on our own accord. The Great Spirit told us how to behave, but we chose a different path. We were cast out the same day that man sinned a great sin. The rest is ancient history. What shall I call you? He takes Heta's hand and helps her up. I am Sewell. Come, we must go to the council. There are many things you need to know. My people make images that look just like you. Sometimes we use them in our ceremonies. Sometimes we sell them to tourists for high prices. Do you sell images of your grandmother to tourists? No, that is forbidden. We are not allowed to take photographs on our reservation. At least you have a few good standards. You should not sell Kachinas either. Is selling pottery and jewelry okay? Yes, that is acceptable. How about baskets? That is also acceptable, as long as the basket has not been used in a corn ceremony worshipping the sun. How about enough? Be quiet. You asked too many questions. Sorry. Chapter 3. Disorder in Europe. Where CERN once stood, a 3-meter diameter brown hole has formed. UN forces have set up a perimeter around the churning mass. After some trial and error, it has been determined that 30 meters is a danger zone, and 90 meters seems to be a safe distance. Sitting on the edge of the morass is a statue of the female form of Shiva Nataraja, Lord of the Dance, who some call the Destroyer. This was erected by some of the staff members at the facility who belonged to a pantheist cult. In southern France, another portal has opened on the side of a mountain. 4 red-headed giants have emerged. Several curious onlookers that had ventured into the opening have not returned. A local culinary school sent a group of students with baskets and trays of food to welcome the giants. After eating the prepared food, the giants ate the students. This has prompted some speculation that those who entered the portal earlier in the day may have also been eaten. A press conference is called by President Macaroni to address the unfolding situation in the wine country. Many French citizens are worried that this unfortunate turn of events might threaten the tourist industry. A reporter from Le Monde asks President Macaroni, "Can you tell us what is happening in the Bordeaux region?" "I'm glad you asked that question. Nothing is happening in the Bordeaux region. Everything is copacetic." Another journalist from La Figaro asks, "Is that a French word?" An aide whispers into President Macaroni's ear. He replies to the crowd, "It is of mixed origin, most probably French-Canadian or Louisiana Cajun." A round of affirmation goes through the assemblage. "Oui, oui. Monsieur le Président, it has been reported that giants are eating French citizens in the hills of southern France. I assure you that those reports are grossly exaggerated." The journalist continues, "I am pretty sure about my sources. They all say the same thing. When have 2 Frenchmen ever agreed on something?" "One woman has stated that a very large red-headed man ate her son," says the same reporter. "And what is his name?" "Her son's name is Émile Vasquez." "No, I am asking you in a nice way. What is the name of the very large man?" "Je ne sais quoi." "Well, I don't know either." The president steps back from the microphone. "That's all I have time for right now." Chapter 4. Sweetgrass. As Heta and Sewell Kachina walk down an overgrown path, they are confronted by Payatamhoya Kachina, a red striped clown. He is hanging upside down from a tree limb. He smiles from ear to ear. "Pleased to see you again." Heta says, "I've never seen you before. How could you see me again?" "Have you seen everything I've seen?" "No, that would be impossible." "Then you don't know what I've seen and what I haven't seen." Payatamhoya Kachina swings back and forth and then launches himself into the air for a grand dismount. He misses a landing, falls on his behind. Kachina laughs out loud. I thought cats always land on their feet. Is that a question or a comment? Asks Kachina as he gets up. More of a rhetorical question, I guess. Then there's no point in answering it. Now that you mention it, I have seen you before at the corn festival, but I always thought you were just someone's uncle dressed like a clown. I am someone's uncle. Kachina gets up in Heta's face and asks, have you ever played Frog Goes a-Jumping? I think so. Someone grabs their knees and the others jump over her? That's right. Okay, Heta, you bend over right here. I'll bend over in front of you. Then Rabbit will come running at us from behind. Let's do it. All right. Heta watches Kachina move to the rear, and then she bends over and crooks her head up to look at Kachina bending over. She can see his face between his legs. Without warning, Kachina begins flinging soil in her face like a badger. Before she can get out of the way, she is covered with dirt. Kachina falls down laughing. He is such a trickster. Don't you love it? Heta spits out dirt and wipes her eyes. I thought we were in some kind of a hurry. Kachina makes a grimacing smile, displaying all of his teeth. She tries to slap him, but he rolls into the bushes and disappears. You're right, Heta, says Rabbit. We must go to the council, but first we must smoke some sweetgrass with Kachina and Kachina. Lead the way. Kachina takes off running like he is being chased by a dog. Always up to the challenge, Heta follows close on his heels. A covey of quail takes flight to avoid being stepped on. In a short time they arrive at a campsite. Large stones encircle a fire. Each of the two Kachinas sits on a rock. Between them, on another rock, is a large leather sack tied at the top. I'm going on to the council, says Rabbit. They can point you in the right direction when you have passed their challenge. Without waiting for a response, he darts off even faster than before. Heta starts to sit on one of the rocks when Kachina stops her. Not there. I don't want to be downwind from you. He points to the rock where he wants her to sit. Standing on top of his rock, Kachina lets out a blood-curdling squeal as if he was being eaten alive by a bobcat. He looks at Heta with one eye to observe her reaction to his outburst. She looks at him with wide eyes and smiles politely. That was supposed to scare you, he says. I only felt pity. I thought you were in pain. Kachina raises his hands towards the sky. Come, let us inhale the fragrance of heaven. He takes a handful of sweetgrass and tosses it on the fire. All three of them waft the smoke into their faces to breathe in the thick smoke. I love the smell of holy grass, says Kachina. When the fire burns down, I shall paint my face with the ashes. As Kachina takes his seat, he points to a nearby spear. Take the blunt end of this spear, Heta, and strike the bag. Obligingly, Heta takes the spear and stands over the bag between the two Kachinas. She half-heartedly hits the bag. Is there a reason? No, says Kachina. You must take this challenge seriously. She brings the shaft down squarely on the highest bulge in the leather sack. A muffled moan comes from inside the bag, and it sags slightly. Strike the bag again, says Kachina. Hit him like he is your enemy. With moderate force, Heta racks both sides of the bag where she imagines its head to be. Then she raises the spear over her head and delivers a crushing blow. Crack! The bag falls off of the stone it was setting on. I think you killed him, says Kachina. Kachina throws some more sweetgrass in the fire and sticks his head in the smoke plume. Tell us what is in the bag, Heta. My enemy? No. Be specific, says Kachina. What kind of creature is this? It would be impossible for me to know. Look at the size of it. Look at the shape. What do your instincts tell you? Can I hit it again? Yes, says Kachina. Beat him to a pulp. He deserves it. Heta pokes and prods the creature in the bag with the spear, occasionally using a blow that is hard enough to make it moan. It is nearly as large as me with a tail. There could be a snake in the bag as well, but I'm going to guess it is a tail. She steps on the edge of the bag where she imagines a tail, and it rolls with the pressure of her foot. Do not cheat, Heta, says Kachina. Use only the spear. It is a rat. How could she know that? Asked Kachina. It could have been a cougar. She is the chosen one. Kachina loosens the top of the bag and lifts it from the bottom. Kachina tumbles to the ground. He is unconscious. Kachina asks, "Why didn't you say cougar?" "The cougar has a very low guttural sound," says Heta. "I thought I heard it squeak." "You have passed the first test," says Kachina. "Now you must see the medicine man." Kachina says, "He has strong medicine. I think you're going to like it." "I'm not a drug addict." "It is not illegal for Hopi people to take this medicine. It is natural. We do it in the name of religion." "Okay, in that case, I'll give it a try." She takes a deep toke. As he points in one direction, Kachina says, "Take the path that goes down to the river." Chapter 5, Brown Hole. Imam Abu Solomon approaches the brown hole where the entrance to CERN once stood. There is a large crowd of onlookers, a huge press corps, and a significant military presence. The only event in history which drew more in attendance was when a girl fell down a mine shaft in Midland, Texas. As the Imam tries to pass through the restraining rope, he is stopped by an Afghani soldier holding a Kalashnikov rifle. "You can't go through here." "I'm an Imam." "Oh, in that case, okay." The UN soldier moves aside. A reporter from La Parisienne tries to follow on his heels, but he is kicked in the shin by the guards, and he drops to the ground in pain. Passing by the Shiva statue, the Imam stands at the edge of the brown hole. Small objects are being continually sucked into it. He calls out in a loud voice, "Mahdi! Are you in there, Mahdi?" A soft male voice responds, "Come closer." The Imam takes a few steps closer, and then something grabs his ankle. He finds himself face to face with a huge creature with one cyclopean eye, whose feet are bound to the rock floor with chains. The only light in this space comes from the newly opened hole created by the electron collider. "Is that you, Mahdi? I was expecting an Arab prince in a white robe." "There is no Mahdi. There is just you and me." "But I wanted to summon the Mahdi by arranging for an opening into heaven." "What you managed to accomplish is opening one of the pits of hell." "You're kidding," the Imam says. "Nope." "Who are you?" "The Argonauts called me Cyclops. If you can remove these chains from my feet, then I won't eat you." He loosens his grip on him. Imam Abu Solomon goes to his feet and fumbles with the manacles in a futile manner. "I don't think I can budge these chains." "I have just arms and hands like you. Can't you see that? I thought you had some kind of powerful magic." "I'm an Imam, not a magician." "Aren't you the one that opened this portal?" "Not really. My disciple threw the switch on an electron contraption above you. It is some kind of heathen science." "Those fools have sealed their own fate." Cyclops picks up the Imam and bites off one of his feet. Then he eats his other foot. "Be merciful," the Imam pleads. "The pain is terrible. Please." "I have no mercy, only hunger and rage." Then he bites off the Imam's head before consuming him completely. Chapter 6, Tale of Tears. A short distance from the river's edge is a tumbleweed that is engulfed in flames. In the midst of the fire, a rattlesnake is coiled next to a Kachina. Heta approaches the burning weed and notices that the snake is still alive, and the temperature emitting from the blaze is only slightly warm. "What's going on in there, brother snake?" "I've lost my rattle, and every rattlesnake needs a rattle." "Absolutely," says Heta, "but at what cost?" Kachina says, "We're in the middle of something here." "Oh, pardon me. I just wondered if I could help." "Well, yes you can if you know how to tie a rattle on a rattlesnake's tail." "I'm pretty sure I couldn't manage that. What would I tie it to? He's slick from head to toe." "I haven't even got toes anymore. We lost our toes in the Garden of Heaven. But I did have a rather nice rattle last week." "What happened to your rattle?" "A horse stepped on it and almost tore it off. Before I could get to cover, a crow came down and snatched it away with the last bit of sinew. I hate crows." "That must have really hurt." Which part? The jackass stomping on my tail or the crow grabbing the rattle? I was leaning toward the original injury where you got stepped on. If you must know, the biggest injury was to my pride. No one gives me any respect anymore. If I wiggle my tail with no rattle at a coyote, he just laughs. That is an insult. There are now 2 dead coyotes up on the ridge over there. I also bit a very rude groundhog, but I ate him. I'm kind of busy here, says Kachina. You can talk to him after I attach this rattle. It looks like a baby rattle, says Heta as she snickers. How embarrassing. Did you think I could just grow a new one, says Kachina. This is the best I could come up with. I'm happy to get it. The inside of this rattle is made with real rattlesnake tails. It has a very authentic sound. If anyone gets too close, they will get a proper warning. And if they are bite-sized, I will just slither up without announcing myself. Sounds great. Thunder sounds in the distance, and a bright light momentarily blinds Heta. Give him room, says Kachina. He's got places to go. Before slithering under a bush, the rattlesnake shakes his new tail. Thanks for the help. I've got a tall tale to tell now. Kachina tells me you got a ticket to ride, says Kachina. How's that? asks Heta. You're going to sprout wings and fly. You've got some weird stuff ahead of you. He holds out 2 clumps of herbs. Choose your poison. What are they? Left one's peyote, right one's magic mushroom. It's totally legit though. You get nabbed by the popo, we're going to wrap this up in native religion. Heta places some of the peyote in her mouth. It makes her throw up, but then she immediately takes wing. She soars through the air like a nuvak wahoo. Effortlessly, she flies over her reservation and takes in the beauty of the desert country, with a scattering of hills and gullies. Another nuvak wahoo joins her and screeches before saying, Everything looks different from up here. There is only beauty. There are no harsh sounds, no pollution, no commotion. But you gotta eat. The nuvak wahoo plummets into a pond below and grasps a trout with his talons. A goose flying in V formation leaves her place and joins Heta. Are you flying north? We are headed for cooler weather. Arizona is quite warm in the summer. I wasn't really thinking about migration. The truth is, I just got my wings and I was testing them out. You are quite large. When does the young nuvak wahoo get its wings? I'm not sure. I got mine about 10 minutes ago. They must still be wet. I envy you. Why? Everyone looks up to you. I guess it's because we fly so high. I gotta go. My flock needs me. Heta catches some movement out of the corner of her eye. A kangaroo rat is prancing on the desert floor without a care in the world. Predator instincts take over and Heta dives toward the unsuspecting rodent. As she clears the treetops, she opens her talons and slows her descent. Just before Heta makes her grab, the kangaroo rat sees the shadow of a nuvak wahoo with wings spread. He dodges to the left and finds shelter beneath a cactus. With the grace of a coot, Heta crashes into the sand empty-handed. Kachina is standing in front of her when she regains consciousness. He extends a hand and Heta takes it with her own human hand. She is a real girl again. Was that fun? He asks. As she stands up, she happens to see the kangaroo rat sitting under a cactus. She glares at him with a serious look. He grins and runs in the opposite direction. She looks back at her mentor. Yes, that was great fun. Can I do it again? Got a score to settle? Yeah, no, I just enjoyed the whole thing. Time for another trial. Take these bits of mushroom and see what happens. Immediately, she is again sick to her stomach. Then she shrinks to the size of a upavosa. She is still a girl, and her clothes have shrunk to fit her. I don't think I'm going to like this. Better run, Kachina points at a nearby istaqua. Heta's eyes look like chicken eggs with small dots for pupils. She runs for the cactus plant where the kangaroo rat is hiding. Istaqua sprints toward her with his mouth wide open. As she passes under the prickly pear, she jumps headlong for good measure. Istakwa jams his head under the plant, but comes out yelping and a cluster of thorns. Because of her smaller size, she can now see that the kangaroo rat is Homichi Kachina. He is wobbling his head back and forth. It ain't so easy being 5 inches tall, is it? No, and I don't think I like it. Are you the one that was trying to eat me earlier? I'm not sure. I've been going through some changes lately. Well, no harm done. I'd say we're in the same boat now. Your enemies are my enemies. We should smoke a peace pipe. Great. Soon there are 5 more Homichi Kachinas standing in a circle with them. The 7 of them sit down cross-legged, and the oldest one brings out a pipe. Got a light? One of the other Kachinas pulls a strike-anywhere match out of his pouch. You go first. I've never smoked a peace pipe. What do I do? You make peace. You know, say you're sorry and that kind of stuff. You smoke the pipe, and then hand it to one of us, and then we'll say something. Okay. I'm sorry I flew down and tried to grab you. Wait a minute, says one of the other Homichi Kachinas. You ain't got wings. How'd you manage that? Well, I used to have wings, but I guess they fell off. Is that possible? Asks one of the Homichi Kachinas. Homichi Kachina says, when you do drugs, sure. So go ahead now and smoke the pipe. Heta takes a long drag on the pipe and waits before exhaling. It ain't that kind of tobacco, says Homichi Kachina. It's just piva. Bummer. And I'm sorry I ate from your corn sack last week, says Homichi Kachina. Then all the other Homichi Kachinas say, me too. They all take turns smoking the pipe. That's it. We're all friends now, says Homichi Kachina. Out of nowhere, Heta is slapped in the face. It brings tears to her eyes. Umtonika Kachina slaps her again. Wake up! It's time to go! Heta can't stop crying. Tears pour down her face like streams in the desert. Thunder rolls and mountains quake. Lightning strikes a Joshua tree nearby and sets it afire. Horny toads and Gila monsters scurry for high ground. The wind begins to howl, and the sky turns dark. As Heta continues to cry, arroyos fill, and quicksand becomes more quick, and swallows a buck. A herd of buffalo stampedes toward the cliff's edge. Umtonika Kachina slaps her again. Wake up, you're tripping! As Heta comes back to reality, he says, the council is waiting for us. They will be angry. Heta shakes her head, rubs her eyes to clear the cobwebs out of her mind. All right, I guess I was a bit out of it. Before you meet with the council, you need to make a showing at the corn festival. Do you celebrate in the same way we do, with costumes, drum beats, and dancing? Yes, we are required to participate if we want to live on the heavenly reservation. That sounds like my world. Yours is a type and shadow of ours. It is the wisdom of the elders. It is the mandate of the council. Chapter 7, Nuclear Option. In the wine country of southern France, things have gotten worse. Feeling threatened, UN troops started firing their weapons at the 4 giants. This resulted in many casualties for both the military and civilians. Collateral damage is destroying village after village. Bullets pass harmlessly through the giants. Missiles and airstrikes have no effect. President Macaroni has called an emergency meeting of the Security Council at the United Nations. As you have probably seen on French TV news channels, our country is under attack by red-headed giants. We believe the Swiss are at fault for allowing CERN to open a hole into the depths of hell. The Democrats in America are blaming their president. The ambassador from Switzerland, Diane Tuscher, leans into her microphone and swears at President Macaroni in Flemish. Then she says in English, "We did not build CERN. The French had more to do it than we did. I believe Israel is responsible for the giants. However, the best information we have is that an Iranian scientist locked down the control room and set off a bomb." Halmar Rakib Babu, the ambassador from Yemen, shouts, "Why do you crusaders always want to put the blame on peace-loving Muslims? This was not a terrorist attack." "You're right, Ambassador Babu. says Macaroni, but these giants are causing terror. Conventional weapons cannot stop them. That's why I've called for a special meeting to announce that we intend to drop a nuclear device on them. Everyone knows that we do not want to use nuclear weapons, even though we have stockpiled hundreds of them. The ambassador from Belgium, Nicholas Goosen, says, "Where are the giants right now? I have heard that they are near our borders." That's correct. The giants have taken up positions near Longwy, France. There is some risk that nuclear fallout will affect France, Germany, Luxembourg, the Netherlands, Belgium, Switzerland, and Austria. It's unfortunate. We have no other choice. Bjorn Hagerström, the ambassador from Sweden, says, "Maybe we should just wait and see. Perhaps we can reason with them. We should never give up on diplomacy." The U.S. ambassador, April Manley, takes her turn to say we should use sanctions. If we can come together and use our combined fiscal capabilities, we can bring them to their huge knees. It will take a strong coalition of like-minded nations to bring about the change that is necessary. "I really just came before this group to announce our intention," says President Macaroni. "I wasn't asking for permission. In 20 minutes, we intend to drop a hydrogen bomb on the Catholic Church where one of them is hiding." "That doesn't give us enough time to warn our people and evacuate them," says Nicholas Goossens. "It's them or us," says Macaroni. C'est nous. Chapter 8. Corn Festival. Heta finds herself in a plaza. Hundreds of human-sized Kachinas wait in lines for their chance to dance with their respective clans. She recognizes the tempo of the drums. It resonates in her soul. Payatamhoya Kachina taps her on the back of her shoulder. When she turns around, he is gone. She turns back toward the center of the plaza, but before she can take a step, she tumbles to the ground. Someone has tied a leather strap around her ankles. All of those standing around her laugh and snicker. As she loosens the loop, she looks up to see Payatamhoya Kachina sitting cross-legged in front of her. "Your moccasins have come untied, I see." "My guess is that you had something to do with this." "Perhaps there's another explanation." "Look around you. There are dozens of citizens and denizens that could have done it." "Right." Heta cannot loosen the binding. "I can't seem to manage. Why is this so difficult?" "It is magic." Payatamhoya Kachina helps her untie the knot. He slips the loops of leather around her wrist. "You're welcome." Before she can offer a response to the loose strap unravels and then becomes taut. In the next moment, she is being dragged through the crowd like a captive in shackles. "Wait!" screams Heta. Balolo Gank Kachina on the other end of the rope does not stop or even turn around to look at her. "Wait, I said," she screams. She jerks on the rope so hard that Balolo Gank Kachina is flipped backwards, falls on his face. He pushes himself up on all fours and glares at Heta. His body starts to swell and his belly turns red. Kuiu Kachina steps up to Heta while pointing at his eyes. "You might want to cover your face. He's about to spit blood in your eyes." Heta covers her face with her shawl. When nothing happens, she peers around the edge of her scarf and asks, "He's a horny toad?" "He prefers horned lizard," says Kuiu Kachina. "He claims his blood will blind you, but I think he's bluffing. I mean, he ain't a Gila monster or a dragon." "I got plenty of poisonous blood," says Balago Kachina. "Nobody messes with me." "Well, tell Mr. Fancy Pants Horned Lizard I don't like being drug around the courtyard by a strap." "I did it for your own safety. You look like you was on drugs or something," says Balolo Gank Kachina. "Anyway, I was told to come and fetch you, and by the way, I don't like being called horny." "Sorry, why didn't you just tell me? I can still walk." "My bad." He holds his hand over his mouth. "I feel like I'm going to puke." He looks around desperately for a place to regurgitate the blood in his belly. Kuiu Kachina pounds him on the back. "Go ahead, friend, I'll take care of this." "Can you take the strap off my wrist?" asks Heta as she holds her hands toward him. Kuiu Kachina removes the strap from her wrist and tucks it away. After a short walk, he leaves her at the entrance to a grand house that faces the outdoor arena. Kuiu Kachina stands at the door like a bouncer. All who enter must wait, says Kachina. He is wearing a red shirt and a blue pitkuna. Heta stands and waits patiently. She notices that several other guests enter and leave without speaking to Kachina. She studies his face, but he shows little expression. Kachina approaches the house and greets Kachina with a nod. He is also wearing a red shirt and a blue pitkuna. An invitation from Manwi Wuti. He hands Kachina a rolled piece of paper and a red cardinal feather that are tied together with a string. He turns to Heta and asks, "Why are you standing there?" Pointing at Kachina, she says, "He told me all who enter must wait." He's talking about once you get there, you must wait to be served. Don't just go walking into the kitchen and get what you want. Heta glares at Kachina. She detects a slight grin, so she goes up to him and steps on his toe. "You probably think that was funny, don't you? I got my orders, you got your orders." He looks at Kachina and snickers. "What's up with Manwi Wuti?" Kachina says, "There's going to be a council meeting. Something about the end of the world and a rabbit princess." "I don't know a rabbit princess. Where is she from?" asks Kachina. "She's not really a rabbit princess," says Kachina. "She chases rabbits, and she's a human, and she is the peace child. At least that's what some Kachinas think. They are going to have a council and ask the elders." "I chase rabbits," Heta says to no one in particular. "Are you the peace child?" says Kachina. "No." "Then I wouldn't claim to be the rabbit princess if I were you." "I never have." Heta steps into the house where many Kachinas are sitting at a long table eating stew and piki. Kachina motions for her to come sit next to him at the table. "Are you hungry?" "I'm famished," says Heta as she sits down. "Did you wait?" "What do you mean?" "All who enter must wait." He chuckles and several other Kachinas laugh out loud. "Well, I'm waiting now." "What are you waiting for?" "Waiting to be served." You don't have to wait. You don't have to wait. The food is in front of you. Just eat it." Homichi Kachina gives her a ladle to dip from the large bowl of stew. Kachina asks, "Do you want him to serve you?" Homichi Kachina and Kachina both laugh. At the other end of the table, Tavo Kachina stands in his chair and screeches like his foot is caught in a trap. The whole room bursts into laughter. With a wink and a nod, Kachina hands Heta a piece of piki. "I think everybody goes to a lot of trouble just to be rude," Heta says. Upavosa Kachina pokes his head out of a basket in the center of the table. "We are here to serve you." Chapter 9. Kitchen Chaos. Heta finishes her lunch and pushes back from the table. "That was great. I'm going to compliment the cook." "I wouldn't recommend that," says Homichi Kachina. "Sometimes things get wild in there." As Heta sticks her head in the kitchen, a gourd smashes into the doorframe. "Whoa! Is this a bad time?" "It's always a bad time," says Kachina. She is wearing a papoose while she prepares the food. Kachina is sitting on a wooden stool in front of the open oven. A large metal cauldron hangs over the fire. Kachina has her back to Heta. She can see Pitsudi Kachina inside the back cradle. He has a rather round, stubby nose and pointed ears that flop forward. Heta turns towards Kachina. "I wanted to thank you for the stew and piki." A cup flies by her right ear and shatters against the wall. When she turns around to face Kachina, she still has her back to Heta. "Did you throw that at me?" "Are you accusing me?" She turns toward Heta and puts a hand on her hip while still holding a wooden spoon in one hand and a knife in the other. "Not exactly, more like asking if you did it." Kachina asks, "Are you the one that insulted my food?" "No, why would you say that? I hear things." Kachina appears next to Kachina. He makes a shushing noise while touching his lips. While Kachina is turned away from them, he steps up to Heta and whispers in her ear, "Don't we all hear things?" "Of course we do," Heta replies. "Well, she hears more things than most people." Heta asks, "Have you noticed something odd about the baby and her papoose?" "Looks more like a pig than a baby, I would say." "I wouldn't go that far." He always goes too far, says So, Kachina. If you are going to insult my Pitsudi, Kachina, you should say it to my face. Oh, I'm sorry. Heta turns toward her. I didn't mean to be cruel. I only meant that he was a bit odd-looking. I probably should have been more careful with my choice of words. It's because he doesn't get enough exercise. It's Kachina Cook's responsibility to take care of the baby, and she says she can't get her other chores done if he is running around getting into trouble. So she keeps him in the papoose. Pitsudi Kachina doesn't really seem to mind, but every once in a while he screams and tries to wriggle out of that contraption. 2 ears of corn hit Heta squarely in the back. Ouch! She screams as she turns toward Kya Kachina, but she appears to be hard at work. She looks around the kitchen for Payatamhoy Kachina, but he has disappeared again. Why don't you take Pitsudi Kachina for a walk? He needs the exercise, and so do you. Okay. Does he need changing before we go out? He always needs changing. Where do you keep the clean diapers? He doesn't wear diapers. He's potty trained. But you said he needed changing. He always needs changing. Change his scenery, change his bad attitude, change his mind, you know. Before she can ask for permission, Kya Kachina loosens the back cradle and begins to strap it onto Heta's back. Wait a minute, I thought I was going to take him for a walk. You don't want to do that, trust me. What she meant was you should go for a walk and take him with you. Kya Kachina finishes placing the papoose snugly between her shoulders and goes back to cooking. Heta ventures into the plaza. It is a grand sight. Every kind of Kachina you could imagine is dancing or waiting for their turn to perform. A dust cloud hangs over the arena because of all the stamping and shuffling of feet. Several musicians play the drums while others sing. Many of the Kachinas have bells attached to their legs which add to the merry sound. All of a sudden, Pitsudi Kachina screams at the top of his lungs. Every eye turns toward them. Heta is totally embarrassed, but she doesn't know what to do. Her instincts tell her to run. Instead, she tries to adjust the straps on the papoose to give him some more room. In a flash, he is on the ground and running through the crowd. Everyone cheers, and the celebration continues. Chapter 10, Nuclear War. In Longwy, France, one of the giants is sleeping inside Paroy St. Martin Catholic Church in the middle of the village. A French superintendard bomber flies over at 16,000 feet and drops a nuclear bomb on the church. It is a low-yield weapon that leaves a crater about the size of a football field. The giant quickly emerges from the rubble and runs due west. 2 Dassault Rafale attack aircraft join in the hunt and fire on the giant with machine guns and rockets. At this point, the giant picks up a rock the size of a grapefruit and throws it at the closest aircraft. The aircraft explodes in midair. The second aircraft is destroyed in the same manner. The superintendent bomber radios the command center. The first bomb had no effect, even though it was a direct hit. Aigle 1, drop the big one. The big one? Oui, le grand. 5 minutes later, a bomb detonates 20 miles west of Longwy. It is 10 times larger than the one that was dropped on Hiroshima at the end of World War II. One of the other giants made his way into Russia, and they also dropped a bomb on it. China has dropped an atomic bomb on a giant, and so have India and the United States. It would seem that there are more than 4 giants now, and nuclear war has started. It is not a war of nations against nations, but a war between giants and little people, little when compared to giants. Chapter 11, Main Kiva. Palologank Kachina finds Heta and says, I am to escort you to the ceremonial Kiva. I can't leave. I lost the baby. He will be fine. We all take care of him. When they reach the main Kiva, Palologank Kachina bends down and pokes his head in the opening. The chosen one, he announces. You can just call me Heta. Everyone knows you chase rabbits, but not everyone knows you are the chosen one. He reaches into a basket and retrieves a rattlesnake. He stands next to the ladder with the snake in his hand. You must carry this snake in your mouth as you descend into the Kiva. It is for your protection. How can that be for my protection? Evil spirits will fear you. Only the pure in heart can enter the ceremonial kiva. If you are carrying a demon, it will fall off of you. Can I hold his head with one hand? Yes, if you only need one hand to hold on to the ladder. It is quite dark inside the chamber. The only illumination is sunlight that pours in through the opening at the top of the kiva. After her eyes adjust, she can see several Kachinas sitting in a circle. I'll take that. Shuman Kachina takes the snake from Heta. Several other snakes rattle and hiss when the cover to a basket is removed. He places it in the woven container and places the lid. Yongosona Kachina hands Heta several white hoops with feathers attached. Do a winema for us, a hoop dance. Heta takes the hoops and immediately starts to dance as one Kachina sings and another plays the drum. Yongosona Kachina adds a rhythm with jingle bells. When the music stops, Heta has formed a peace symbol with the hoops. Alo Kachina takes the construction and sets it in the middle of the room. Please join our circle, Heta. I want to thank all of you for inviting me here, but I don't understand why you've chosen me to participate, says Heta. I am not special, I am just a girl. Do you see any other humans here? Asks Alo Kachina. Have you seen any other humans since you came to our land? No, and I don't really remember how I got here. A portal was opened in one of your kivas in the natural world. Sometimes we are allowed to pass into your world, but no one has ever come into our world. You have been chosen to deliver your people and bring peace to the world. I have no idea how to do that. Do you plan to train me? There is not time for that, says Shuman Kachina. The world is at war. Alo Kachina says, foolish men have opened a door into the underworld, and some of the giants held captive have escaped. A nuclear war has started, says Cow Turtle Kachina. As he begins to cry, thunder is heard in the distance. Do the giants also have nuclear weapons? Asks Heta. No. Alo Kachina extends both of his fingers and draws a wide circle in the air. Many nations have nuclear weapons, the gourds of destruction. The giants have no need of such weapons, since they are useless against them. Then why are they using such weapons? Ignorant men are always ready to spread destruction with their clever devices. Shuman Kachina says, you must go to them and warn them. The planet cannot survive a nuclear war. What shall I tell them that they do not already know? They will not listen to me. Does the Gila monster listen to the crow? Says Shuman Kachina. Does the cricket listen to the grasshopper? You will go to the great glass house, the United Nations. Payatamhoa Kachina shall go with you, says Alo Kachina. They cannot hear or see him, but you will be able to. He will tell you secrets that no one could know. They will listen. Okay, what are the secrets? Don't get ahead of me. The secrets that Payatamhoa Kachina will tell you will open their understanding. The message, however, is a call for peace. Your people have always carried this message. The Hopi are ambassadors of peace, and we have been warning the world of the coming calamity and the prophecies that your elders share. I'm sorry, Alo Kachina, but to be honest, I did not pay attention to those stories. I shall explain it. Nuvakwahu Kachina steps into the center of the group. The Creator made the first world in perfect balance, and the peaceful people spoke one language. But because of wickedness, that world was destroyed by earthquakes. A handful of peaceful people survived, but again, humans turned away from moral principles and forgot about spiritual things. Their hearts grew cold, and the Ice Age took over the land. Nothing grew, but a few peaceful people hid in caves. In the third world, the people spoke one language again. The humans invented machines and built great cities, but violence filled the whole land. That world was so wicked that the Great Spirit sent a great flood that destroyed not only the living, but erased their history as well. Only a few temples of stone remained. Small groups of people spread across the earth, but now no one is taking care of the earth. The humans poison their own food, and they pollute the air and the water. Many children starve. Cruel wars have been fought. In the Western Hemisphere, the people, the Hopi people, were landless, homeless, starving, and they had no medical help. The atomic bomb killed thousands of people in 2 of the cities of Japan. We are at a place in history where the gourd of destruction will end this world. If we cannot put an end to this conflict, all that will be left is a pile of ashes. It is not time for the end, but scientists have released the giants. The great warriors must put away their dark weapons, or we will all perish. Yagosona Kachina says, he's telling the truth. Unless someone tells the truth and the leaders believe it, everyone will perish. He begins to cry great tears. Alo Kachina hands Heta a peace pipe. You are the chosen one, the peace child. The elders will arrange for you to speak in the great glass house. It is your destiny. Chapter 12, Great Glass House. Chapter 12, Great Glass House. Heta takes the podium. Her mouth is parched and she cannot speak. A few people cough and it breaks the silence. Payatamhoya Kachina steps up and pokes her in the ribs so hard that she grunts in pain. He whispers a secret in her ear. There are only 4 giants, and you cannot stop them with your bombs. April Manley, the delegate from the United States, says, it is all over the news. There are many giants, not just 4. Payatamhoya Kachina whispers in her ear, and she reveals the truth. The United States only said they had a giant so they could enter the war. They dropped 3 bombs on their own cities, but there were no giants. That is the truth, says Zurov Marka Nikolaevich, the delegate from Russia. Our own spies have seen that they are only pretending to have giants so that they can look big to the rest of the world. Heta has brought 195 sealed envelopes for each of the countries represented in the United Nations. The name of the delegate is clearly printed on the outside. Aides to the assembly quickly pass out the cards to each one of the countries. Please notice that each of the delegates' names is printed on the envelope, says Heta. It contains classified information. Do not let anyone else read it. There is also a brief explanation of the Hopi prophecy for all people. What are these latitude and longitude numbers? Asks Qin Wang, the delegate from China. That is the current location of the 4 giants. Russia, China, France, and India can tell us if these are the true locations of the giants. Each of these nations' delegates rise and confirm the locations. So that you will know that I am telling the truth, says Heta, each one of you will find your mother's maiden name written on the card in your own language. It also states your worst fear. I would not share this information with anyone. The delegate from Sri Lanka, Lahiru Luvishviwa, says, what if what you say is true? It makes no difference. You cannot defeat the giants any more than we can. My elders have told me you have a brown hole in Switzerland. At the entrance to the hole is a great Cyclops. If he escapes, the world shall be destroyed. Bombs will not stop him, and he will mate with your daughters. In a short time he and his children will overtake the earth. General chaos erupts on the floor, but eventually order is restored. Many of the delegates swallow their cards with their secret fears spelled out. The delegate from Israel, Yonatan Golantz, asks, what is your plan? How can we defeat the giants? The plan is simple and hard. You must dump all of your weapons of mass destruction in the brown hole at CERN. It will destroy the Cyclops and world peace will be achieved. You cannot hide your nuclear weapons in silos and caves. The giants will sniff them out and detonate them. It will cause a nuclear winter and all life will cease to exist. The delegate from the Netherlands, Kobus Santig, asks, why should we trust you? Your families depend on you to do the right thing. You must have faith in the Great Spirit that has sent you an olive branch of peace. In all humility, I confess that I am the child of peace. Holding up her pipe, she says, smoke this peace pipe with me. The delegate from Luxembourg, Leon Majeris, says, we don't allow smoking in here. It's not that kind of tobacco, says Heta. Payatamhoya Kachina is invisible to everyone except Heta. Before leaving, he moves around the room, tipping over water glasses on the delegates' tables. Soon 65 nations have been insulted, and 35 delegates have left the floor in fear for their lives. All of them are plagued by the thing they fear the most, the fears written on their cards. Chapter 13. Squash Blossoms. When Heta gets back to Arizona, she is taken to a mesa on the outskirts of Hopi. On her way to the village, she encounters Kachina. He is painting the squash blossoms orange. "Tell me, sir, why are you painting the zucchini buds? I'm sure that in time they will turn orange, especially at the time of harvest." Kachina says, "Nature has been offended. Nuclear fallout is poisoning the air and the water. If I can paint the blossoms in time, maybe calamity can be avoided." "I have been to the great glass house in New York. I spoke to the leaders and warned them about the coming disaster and the gourd of destruction." "What did they tell you?" "They thanked me for coming, but I think they are still at war." "I felt the ground shake today. One of the giants has found his way to America." "Why has he come here?" "He's coming for us. He knows that we are the only ones that can stop him." "How much time do we have?" "He is riding a train. If they don't make too many stops, he will be here in 1 or 2 days." "Is there anything else I can do?" "There is always prayer. You should go to the Hopi shrine of the covenant. It is not far from here." Heta begins to walk toward the village. Painted dancer Kachina tells her, "The true shrine is not in the village. It is on top of the sacred mountain." On her way to Sacred Mountain, Heta sees Kachina and Kachina escorting a Kachina she has not yet met. When they see her, they stop and wait for her to join them. "Greetings, Peace Child," says Kachina. "Peace," says Kachina. "Don't get too close to him." He points at the one between them. "Sewell Kachina is our prisoner. We are taking him to see Manwi Kachina and Manwi Wuti Kachina. The royal family must decide the fate of this monster. He has brought pain to the children of our community, and this has caused a lack of unity." "I do not think I am so bad," says Sewell Kachina. "Do I look bad to you, Heta?" "I cannot judge you on what you look like," says Heta. "Some people say I have shifty eyes." "Enough of this small talk," says Kachina. "We must appear before the tribal council. You should go with us, Heta." "I was on my way to the shrine of the covenant of the sacred mountain." "Have you ever met the chief or the queen of Kachinas?" "No, but if I go to Sacred Mountain, it could decide the fate of the whole world." "It can wait." "There may only be 1 or 2 more days." Kachina asks, "Why is it either 1 day or 2 days?" "It depends on the train schedule." "Give us an hour," says Kachina, "then you can save the world." After a short hike, they arrive at the top of a mountain. Many Kachinas from different clans have gathered together. The chief and queen are seated on a raised platform. Several drummers are beating out a menacing cadence. Behind them is a raised kiva. A ladder leads to the top of it, and another ladder protrudes through the opening. "Greetings, Peace Child," says Manwi Kachina. "Peace to you, my child," says Manwi Wuti Kachina. "We have some tribal business to attend to first, and then we can talk." She raises her right hand in the air, and the drums stop. "Bring the accused forward." Kachina brings Sewell Kachina to the area in front of the chief and queen. When the accused looks up at Manwi Wuti Kachina, Kachina removes the cord around his neck. Sewell Kachina rubs his neck. "I think you had it on too tight." "Shut up," says Kachina. "Tell me why I should not have your head removed today," says Manwi Wuti Kachina. "It would be hard for me to speak. You want me to tell you something, but you want to take my head off too?" Manwi Kachina says, "That's a good point. I meant after I decided he was guilty, I would remove his head. Can I say something in my defense?" "Certainly," says Manwi Kachina. "Do I look bad to you?" Payatamhoe Kachina appears behind Heta and whispers in her ear, "He always looks bad." Heta turns around long enough to say, "I don't know why that is important." The queen says, "It has been reported that your actions have stolen the hearts of the human children from their parents. Children stay out too late, they are disobedient, they do not finish school, and some of them take their own lives." Manwi Wuti Kachina crosses her arms in front of her and glares at the accused. Sewell Kachina turns slightly to the right and looks behind him. Then he turns partially to the left and looks at those behind him on that side. I don't see anyone else taking the blame for this. One Kachina could not have done all this damage. Manwi Kachina asks, "Who else should be up here with you?" Looking at the ground in front of him, he says, "We are all guilty." "How did this happen?" says Manwi Wuti Kachina. "The human parents are partly to blame, but the biggest problem is drugs and alcohol." Trevelyo Kachina tears his shirt and says, "We are guardians of these children too. We must find a way to instill tradition and good morals." Manwi Wuti Kachina and Manwi Kachina confer for a moment, and then she speaks. "We accept your apology. You are free to go." The chief motions for Heta to be brought forward. "Where does your path take you today, Peace Child?" "I was on my way to the Hopi Shrine of the Covenant on the top of Sacred Mountain to say a prayer for the world." "That is where you are, my child," says Manwi Wuti Kachina. "The Shrine of the Covenant is not hidden in a church. It is here in the garden of Mother Nature. We know that the world is in danger, but your actions have brought about a miracle." "How can that be? The gourd of destruction is still in the air." Two men come out of the kiva and join them. One is an Ethiopian rabbi carrying 2 stone tablets. The other is a preacher with a book cradled in his hands. "We have received visitors from the outside world," says Manwi Wuti Kachina. "At the beginning of this age we received 2 stone tablets, but we lost them. Let the priest come forward. These are the sacred stones that contain the 10 Commandments. We have kept them safely hidden for thousands of years. Now let the preacher come forward," says Manwi Wuti Kachina. "This is the gospel of Jesus in your own tongue. White man's religion is centered in temples and cathedrals, but the gospel of Jesus is written in your heart. Followers of Jesus are not confined by walls." Alo Kachina takes his place between these 2 men. "These are the 2 witnesses sent to restore order. The Hopi people are the keepers of peace, and you, Heta, are the child of peace." "Is that possible?" asked Heta. "What about the war and the giants?" "Because of your words at the great glass house, the leaders have followed your advice. They have dumped all of their weapons of mass destruction into the brown hole. The only thing left is for us to pray." Heta climbs the steps to the raised platform and lifts her hands to heaven. "God, save us!" With a clap of thunder and streaks of lightning, a bright figure appears in the sky and shouts, "It is enough!" Alo Kachina says, "It is Sakwasoha Kachina." The Ethiopian rabbi says, "The Messiah." The preacher says, "His name is Jesus." Heta says, "He is all we hope for." Sakwasoha Kachina zooms to earth and gathers up the giants one by one and drops them into the brown hole. Then he seals it with a beam of power from his mouth. Shamade